Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so let me preface right away by saying there will probably not be individual card pulls today. Um, I got back. I'm so excited to be in California the last few days, and I got back late last night. I don't sleep well while I'm out in California, even though I'm so happy to be there. I don't sleep well while I'm there because my body is still on East Coast time, and I wake up at all hours and all of that. So I'm very tired. I'm very dehydrated from being out there, even though I keep drinking all kind of water. So and right now, yeah, it was a quick trip, honey. It was a quick trip, and I was really, over in the LA side the whole time. So I'm tired, and I want to say this. I'm trying to be polite in how I say this, but I'm pissed as hell. I'm mad as hell, and there's this dichotomy that goes on, but I didn't want to not have time with you all today, because it is such a joy in my day is to be able to see you all and to spend time with you, and frankly you fill me up. So there's a lot. Thanks baby. It's my HRC bottle. So there's a lot with this leaked brief for Roe versus Wade, and for those of you who may or may not follow on my personal page, and like I said in the title today, it is political. I really try not to be political here, but today it's going to be political, because I have had an abortion. This is something that is really important to me. I was really very lucky that I was able to get the services that I needed, and that it was a decision that was between myself and Robert and the doctor. And the first doctor that we went to said that she was not willing to help us, and that was fine. That was her decision, and we all respected each other. And Planned Parenthood helped, and they were amazing. And there were protesters out in front of the building, and I will say my abortion was at 16 weeks, and in this state it was legal until 20 weeks, and then the governor here has just recently signed a ban that would have been 15 weeks. And so I know I'm lucky, and even 15 weeks should have been enough time, because it just took me, I wasn't quite sure how far along I was exactly, and it took a long time for me to make my decision. And I really, for me, and you can go to my website and you can read my blog about it. I forget exactly what that article is called. I think it's but my son in spirit is Matthew, and I talk about Matthew a lot. And I came to a place of reconciliation and a beautiful relationship with Matthew years later. And it was really, difficult, because we had a very difficult emergency birth with Eli, and we had all the same complications with Dylan. And when we had always talked about having 3 children, and when the 3rd pregnancy came along, and the doctor had told us after Dylan was born, she said, "We don't think it's safe for you to have more children," and we went through all the conversation. And so when we accidentally got pregnant, it was really a big conversation, because we had always planned on 3. But, those of you who know, my husband travels for a living. Even before his work that he does now, he's always traveled for a living. And the idea of leaving him, as a single father, and that leaving the 2 kids that we had and that I loved and still love, it was a really difficult conversation. But I felt my obligation was to my family, and that to make the embryo inside of me to be the priority was selfish. And this is just my experience. I'm not ever telling anybody how to think. But it was not an easy choice, but I have never regretted it. It was not an easy procedure, but I have never regretted it. And I had recognized every single day how lucky I was to be able to walk in, pay for it. And, it was a counseling. You had to go in and speak to the doctor and have counseling and make sure that you were in your right mind, and then come back, on the next day. But in some places, that next day might put you out of the window. So I recognized how very lucky I was, but I also learned much later that Matthew had stayed with me because he was a big part of me being able to do this work. And so I do believe that all things do work together for good. I do believe that. But when I look at what's going on in the news, it's hard for me to hold on to that. And I look at the governor in Tennessee just signed a law that makes the Plan B pill illegal with a $50,000 fine. And I think to myself, you have no fucking right to force people to bear a child, and you have no fucking right to tell me whether I can or can't. Nobody gets to make that decision, and I don't care what the court says, and I don't care what asshole governors say. Nobody has the right to tell you that you have to or you can't. And it is infuriating to me, to my core. It is so angry that I don't feel like I can channel today because I can't hear past my own rage. And I saw a news article while I was in California that the Taliban in Afghanistan are, have been eroding women's rights there, as we knew they would after the United States left Afghanistan, and we have watched them tell women they had to wear headscarves. Okay. To tell women they had to be segregated in school. Okay. And then they closed the schools. And then the women couldn't go out without a male escort. And then now they have gone back to the burqa, which means women must be covered head to toe with their little eye holes. And all the advancements that were made for the women in that community, in that country, that we helped them fight for 20 years, in less than 6 months have been erased. And as a woman, I just am angry. I'm just angry. And honestly, I don't care what gender you are. You should be angry. Because what's going on in this country and in other countries is unacceptable. And so I do want to pull cards for us. Thank you. I gratefully accept the hugs. I do want to pull cards, and if you have abandoned the video today because it's political, I totally understand. I do want to pull some cards for the week, because we are coming into Mercury retrograde tomorrow, so I want you to be able to be ready. I want to remind you that Mercury retrograde is not something to be feared. It is something to be appreciated, and the more you can be open to what retrograde brings up for you, the more healing and powerful it can be for you. And so there is part of me that while I am stewing in anger right now and really trying to work through it, and it's a real ping pong match in my head of all things work together. I know this. I believe this with all my heart. All things work together. And this is humanity evolving. And, we know that pendulums swing. We swung really hard to the left, maybe 10 years ago, and now we're swinging really hard to the right. And it is possible, as we're coming into the midterm elections in this country, that people have had enough of this crap, and that they are going to, thank you, Chris, that people have had enough of this crap, and that they are going to, stand up and vote. I saw another thing that 5 senators, Republican senators, sent a letter to the Federal Communications Commission demanding that television shows with LGBTQIA characters have come with a warning label. And to me, this just created a knot in my stomach and just curdled my blood, because as a Jewish woman, this is the direction. We curtail people's rights, and then we label them, and we blame them as being the cause of all of our ills. You know, the gay people are the cause of all the ills, the same way that the Jewish people were the cause of all the ills in the 50s and 40s. And all of that is bullshit. And to see our community, our country, targeting women, targeting the LGBT community as the villains, and Jews. There was a guy waving a Nazi flag at Disney this past weekend. I'm glad I was in California. So this kind of targeting of and othering of our people, because all of us are our people, is not okay. Gay people do not need to have a warning label on them. Jewish people, women, do not need to come with a warning label. And right now what I feel like is this right-wing extremists need to come with a warning label. And so I am very angry. And I am what feels inside of me is not love-based. And I don't like to be in that place. And a wise person reminded me that as we are coming into the, midterms, we're 5 or 6 months from the midterm elections, thank God, to be over with this, except the election cycle in this country seems like it never ends. The right wing is really trying to rile up their base, and that a lot of this is stunt work to rile up the base. And so, as somebody who is an empath, whether it's optics or not, it is the ability to hear, and to feel the energy that's coming out of Ukraine, and the energy that is connected to our, friends and loved ones in various communities that are being targeted by hate mongers, because that's really what it is hate. And I saw Elon Musk put a stick figure drawing on Twitter that, he was standing in the middle, and it was the left wing that had gone so far to the extreme. And I can't in good conscience say that there's not extremists on both sides, because there are. But it's not the left wing that's targeting gay people. It's not the left wing that's banning books, or banning abortion, or banning your right to vote, or banning your right to protest, or your right to make your own healthcare decisions, or your right to get an initiative on the ballot, which is something that has been, curtailed here in my state. Banning books, burning books in Tennessee. And our nation is going in the wrong direction. And so I apologize that this is political today, because I really do try not to bring politics here. But I also try to be very real with you. And today I am trying to reconcile my human with my higher. And my human is pissed. My human is mad. My human is outraged for these fuckwits that are trying to curtail our rights, your rights, my rights, the rights of people I love. The people I love do not need a warning label. Okay, there are people in my life that could use a warning label. I think we probably all could say that. But, so my human is livid. and my human worries for where we're going. And then my higher comes in and says, we got you. It's okay. You're going to be all right. And I went to dinner while I was in California the last few days, and I went to dinner with my family on one night, and I went to dinner with some of my girlfriends on another night, and both dinners had the same questions. You live in Florida. How can you still live in Florida? How do you do this? How do you live in Florida? And my answer to both groups was the same. I love you so much. I'm so happy to see you. It's been such a long time since I was able to get to California. And if we want to have a lovely dinner and not get Sherry's blood pressure up, we're not going to talk about it. But we have to talk about it because our rights are being stolen. And it's not that they're being curtailed, they're being stolen. So, but there are these things where, and I'm looking for something on my desk, where we are reminded, the picture of my beautiful friend Kirsten, where we are reminded that we look at things like this, and that our higher mind, our soul, our spirit, our guides, our angels, our loved ones in spirit, God, higher source, whatever you want to call, they're up here and they're looking down at this image, this beautiful tapestry of this beautiful image, because isn't she wonderful? And we're looking up at the back. And so if you've ever looked at a tapestry, like a needlepoint or something like that, on the front is this beautiful image, and then on the back, dropped it. On the back, it's all strings going everywhere and knots, and it's a mess on the back. And so I'm reminded that we don't see this part. They see this part. We see this part. That's strings and knots and twists and turns and chaos and nothing that makes sense to us. And I'm also reminded that we are continuing to evolve through the throat chakra. And if you've hung out with me for any kind of time, you've heard me talk about, how humanity is evolving through the chakras. And so we are growing through the chakras through the past 100, 150 years or so. And that where we are right now is in the third chakra, the throat chakra. Where the throat chakra, this is the time of using our voice. And the universe needs balance. So where there is light, there will be dark. There will always be dark. There will always be some kind of conflict. As much as we yearn for utopia and peace on earth, we will never be without some element of opposition, because the universe needs balance. So the more we see the rise of people embracing the light, the more we also see the rise of people embracing conflict and the need to control others. And so the more we are using our voice to spread light, the more we see others that are using their voice to spread fear and hate and anger and rage. And there will come this fracturing, and we've seen cracks. If you've seen the movie Encanto, I've watched it a couple times. I just think it's marvelous. And you could see the cracks, but then they heal. Something happens, and then that we heal, and then there's cracks again, and then we heal before we ultimately get to this separation. And I don't know exactly where that will be, but I know that we are in this place, and we are in this place of the throat chakra, of using the voice. And so we see people that are using their voice for good and for love, and we see people who are using their voice for fear and hate and manipulation. And I thought, I saw a video of Ted Cruz talking about how this leaked Supreme Court opinion had to be from one of the liberals, had to be. And I thought, well, gosh, my thought was that it was probably leaked from one of the conservatives, because, they wanted people to know what they were doing. And I just think it's very interesting how we all have a different opinion. And so, again, I apologize that we are that it's political today, but you can't say I didn't warn you. So I do want to pull some cards for the collective, because as I said, we are going to come into Mercury retrograde in tomorrow, and so we've been in that, and I am aware that part of what I'm feeling with it is probably part of that. But I think right now, if you're a woman by birth or by choice, if you are someone who knows women, if you're somebody who loves women, daughters, mothers, you should be mad. You should be mad. And what I will tell you is that if you live in this country or in any other country and you have the ability, vote. Vote, vote, vote. Get your friends to vote. Find out, because every state has worked to make it harder to vote. And we're coming up to the November elections for the midterms. Find out what you need to know to be able to vote. Make sure you're prepared. Do not wait until November to figure it out. Do not assume that how you voted, where your polling place is, what your ballots, voter registration status, whatever. Do not assume that it is the same this time as it was last time. Because for all the bullshit of governors, including ours here in Florida, saying how perfect the elections were in 2020, Republicans have gone out of their way to make it harder to vote wherever you are in this country. So please make sure that you know well beforehand. Do you need to get an absentee ballot? Are you going to vote by mail? Are you going to stand in line? Bring water, bring a chair. What do you need to know to make sure that you can vote in the right place and know that your vote will count? Because I'm going to tell you right now, your vote matters. It matters. It matters. And I'll tell you too, bring a friend. Because I heard from so many people who didn't vote in 2016 because they're like, whatever. So that's a good point. I'm loving this conversation between Chris and Zach going on over here. That's a good point. Not all primary elections are in November. There's primaries. The midterm elections are in November. But there are primaries going on all over the country. So find out what you need to know. Go on your state's, probably if you put in elections.gov in your state, you'll be able to find what you need. But make sure you know, and make sure the people around you know. This is no longer, it seems like every election over the past 15, 20 years has been like, it's so desperate, you have to vote, you have to vote, you have to vote. But it has never before been truly a matter of life and death. You must vote, because for all the women that are around you, they need you to vote for their freedom. Because the fact that the Tennessee governor has outlawed the Plan B pill is an outrage and a complete breach of trust, and I can't imagine that law is not going to go to the courts. And now they're talking about controlling people's access to leave the state to be able to seek abortion services in other states, which is completely unconstitutional, because we have the full faith and credit clause here in our Constitution, and we have free ability to travel from state to state. So things are going in an extreme direction. Maybe it's optics, but I doubt it. I think, if they can control every aspect of our lives, this party that used to stand for small government and leave people alone is now all about control. And if they are going to control women, and they are going to aim to control gay people and label them, we've got some serious, serious problems. So make sure you know where to vote and how to vote, and what kind of ID you need, and what kind of signature is on your voter registration, so that your vote counts. And bring people with you. Don't let anybody sit on the sidelines in this. Okay. So here's poised. is poised. It's 48, card 48. So this is the Wisdom of the Oracle deck for Colette Baron-Reid's deck. Okay. So we had been using the Work Your Light Oracle deck, but that doesn't have numbers. So this is poised, and poised at 48, so 4 and 8 is 12, and 1 and 2 is 3. So it's climbing the mountain, right? And so we're going up, we get to 5, and we see the, we've hit the hurdle, and we're coming back down to, toward that finish line. But at the same time, 3 is also, Jesse, okay, so you're a spammer. Gotcha. Okay, so we're going to report Jesse, and we're going to block Jesse. Wasn't sure what that comment was. Bye-bye. And done. Okay. Sorry about that. We do love the instant ban thing that we have on that. Okay, so with poised and with, as we do the numerology and it comes back to 3, 3 is such an important reminder that higher power is with us. Our angels, our guides, our loved ones, especially angels in the 3 number, that we're not alone. And so I love the fact that this card comes up right away, because we're not alone, and there's so much that's going on that is really protecting us and helping us. And this is why what I was saying about being like, going back and forth between my personal human feelings and my, higher connection. It's hard because in my grounded human body, I'm angry, furious, livid, frustrated. Zach says, murderous rage. I don't know that I'm not sure that I have murderous rage, but I definitely understand the rage, my friend. I definitely understand the rage. And then at the same time, my higher guidance, the part of me that knows and trusts the universe 100% and knows that the universe has a plan for us and that the universe is with us, then I feel like a calm. So it's like a seesaw, it's like, okay, I know they're working it out. There's something that's, I don't know I trust that there's something that, and so it's like this seesaw. And so with poised, we're reminded that we're not alone, and that they do see this seesaw that we're on, and that they do feel our frustration, and that they are helping us to stay poised, and they are helping us to not murder anybody, and to stay in a place of calm, and to do our work, which right now is to make sure that we know how to vote, and that we bring others with us, and so that we are poised. When people say you're poised for a breakthrough, you're on the brink of, we are poised to hopefully take back our country in November from, these radical right-wing agenda. And so the next card that I pick is, because when I asked the cards before I pulled the collective cards, I asked them to help me give us cards that will help us to understand what's going on right now. And so the next card is Message in a Bottle. Message in a Bottle. And so it reminds us that all things do work together for good, and that even when there's negative things that are going on, there's good things that are in there somewhere, in all things that are, I had the most interesting conversation with my seatmate on the plane last night. Really nice guy, and we talked about all kinds of different things. A really pleasant conversation. And one of the things we were talking about was that there is a gift in all situations if we're willing to open ourselves to find it. And this is one of the reasons that we talk about not fearing the Mercury retrograde, that in all things there is some kind of a blessing if we're willing to receive it. And in some situations we are just too overcome with grief or rage or frustration or whatever, and we just can't. But in other situations we we are more open. Message in the bottle is 15, so that would be 6. 5 and 1 is 6, which is really interesting because it's, a multiple of 3, which is where we just were with poised. And so there is a blessing in all the things if we're willing and able to be open to receive it. Now, is it something it's instant that we're going to get that, gift, like something shitty happened and we're going to get a gift today? Not necessarily. In most cases, no. We're going to get a gift, later, maybe 6 months, 6 years, somewhere there's going to be a gift when we can see the situation with hindsight. So in all of this that's going on right now, message in a bottle card is really very hopeful that there is some blessing that is going to come out of all of this chaos. So that's that's a hopeful card. And then we also have the card, interesting. So the last card that we'll pull for today is the card Y. The card Y. And for me, what I hear right away in my head is not why is this happening, but why do I feel the way I do? Why do we feel the way that we do? And I think that's something for each of us to ask. I know why I feel this way, because I'm a woman who chose, who was lucky enough to be able to choose and to be able to pay for it. And I will tell you, it wasn't cheap to have an abortion. But I'm grateful to have been able to do it. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that, I now have a relationship with my son who is in spirit, and that we were able to reconcile. And because I did carry guilt for a long time of, I hope the soul of that child will forgive me. And what I learned from the soul of that child is that there was nothing to forgive, and that he came to help move me to this place, to do this work. And that if he had come into the physical, I wouldn't be doing this work, because I would still be mothering another child, or I wouldn't be here. And so he came to be a conduit to help me to do this work and to help more people than just him. And that was his purpose. And that I call on him, and that he comes into mediumship readings, and that I see him on a regular, is really a gift. So in all things, now I'll tell you, it took a decade before that happened. It was easily a decade before he presented himself to me, to be able to meet him in spirit and to have that conversation and to get to know what that purpose was. So there is a gift in everything. It just is not always instant. Usually it's not instant. So this last question this last card is Y, and it's card 31, so that would be 4. And what's so wonderful about 4 is that there's 4 legs on a chair, and so 4 reminds us that we're supported, which goes right along with card 15, which is and card poised 48. So we have lots of 3s and 4s in here, and it reminds us that we are being supported. There's 4 legs on a chair or a table, and that we are being supported, and we're not alone, that we have this support around us. And so even while we're on this seesaw, and I hear it in my head, that quote that says, "This too shall pass," right? So if it's something really marvelous and wonderful, be grateful for it, be present in that moment, enjoy that experience, because this too shall pass. But if it's something negative and challenging and frustrating, this too shall pass. And so I don't ask, why is this happening? These things are happening because of power and greed. But the question that's better to ask is, why do we feel the way we do, especially coming into Mercury retrograde tomorrow, is why do we feel the way we do, and what can we learn from the experience? So, and then the other thing I would say too, from the human perspective, is what can we do to help stand up against these egregious violations of a woman's right to choose, and protecting our LGBTQIA community from being targeted and labeled with warnings and bullshit. So I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I did want to. I also didn't want to cancel today. I know that I'm tired. I know that I'm dehydrated. I know that I'm happy to be with you, and I'm happy to be home. And I hope for anyone that it's applicable that you had a beautiful Mother's Day yesterday. And what I do want to say is, regardless of what happens with the Supreme Court, what happens with the elections, regardless of what happens, we will be okay. I don't have any evidence to back it up other than the fact that we have been okay up until now. It's not like everything was sunshine and lollipops, but we have been okay. We've made it to this point, and the universe does have our back, and that, whatever it is, we will get through it, and that we will get through it together. And so I want to thank you for bearing with me today, for my ranting, and for your love and support. And please know you have mine completely, right back at you. And I am very honored to be, for you to be part of our community of light that we are building here. And so I love you all. I love your guts right back, all of you. And Chris, I love all of your gutses. And for those of you who came expecting card readings today, I do wholeheartedly apologize. It's just not within my energetic ability today to give you a good reading, or a reading that is not tinted with my own personal feelings, and that does not service you. And so rather than give you something that might be amiss, or point you in the wrong direction because it's covered in my goo, I'd rather say, here's a collective reading, and not do personal readings, because I don't want anyone to get covered in my personal goo. So I love you all, and I thank you so much for your love and support, as always. I give it gratefully and happily and gladly. I give it right back. And I hope you have a wonderful, fabulous, incredible week. And I look forward to seeing you on Thursday for meditation. And next week will be better. And I look forward to being back with you on Monday. And we will do card readings on Monday. So, have a great week.